Thank you for joining us. I'm Michael Miller. I am here with John DuBois, the candidate for Miami-Dade County Commissioner, District 8. Thank you very much for being here, John.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Okay, we're going to get right to it.
Okay.
Why are you running for District 8, which is on the south end of Miami-Dade County? Why are you running for that seat?
Yeah, I was in the race for the mayor of Palmetto Bay, and then in the last few months, I've recognized through a bunch of news stories that, first of all, the city of Palmetto Bay was going to be in good hands with the other candidates, and I felt it wasn't as critical. But with the news stories, including, and not the least of which, was the Port of Miami Fisher Island refueling station issue and the $50 million mental health facility that was blocked by our commissioner initially, that it's time for a change.
And you were formerly the vice mayor of Palmetto Bay. You were elected to 2 4-year terms. That means on the second one, they liked what you did the first time.
Correct.
And so you've been in business for your entire life, all right?
Yes,
and you've been
still working today.
Still working, successful at what you do. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. So
let's touch back on what are some of the things you're most proud of when you were on the commission at Palmetto Bay?
Yeah, so the biggest issue for the communities in the last 15 years, I'd say, has been traffic. Obviously, residents are fed up with what used to be 20 to 25-minute commutes to downtown to taking an hour to an hour and a half each way. So that has been the number one issue. I have taken on development in the on the east side of Palmetto Bay, which is deep in the rural parts of our city. I preemptively zoned. I wrote the legislation to preemptively zone 69 acres that was a former FP&L plant to 1 house per acre against, popular wishes by the developer, who obviously wanted very high density. And the city is still...
it's still in court.
It is still in litigation.
How long has that been in litigation? Or even prior to that, being in front of the commission?
About 7 to 8 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now that you're not there, but it might come before the county commission, so we won't talk about it anymore.
Okay.
All right. So
and another case that just underscores the insanity of what goes on with developers' control of politicians, not just at the county level, but at the city level, when the old Burger King property, which again, it happened to be on almost the same size, about a 65 to 70 acre piece of property. They're right on Old Cutler Road in the south end of Palmetto Bay, and if you ever drive there during rush hour, it is a parking lot. So they are required, in order to upzone that property, to put high-density residential homes in there, which it was not zoned for prior.
When you say required by
zoning regulations. Okay. They have to do something called concurrency study, but part of it is a traffic study. So anybody with common sense would assume it would fail its traffic study because it's a parking lot during rush hour. The point I made was about 1,000 out of the last 1,000 traffic studies that have been done in our community all came out to be supportive of the development. Why? Because it was paid for by the developers. So, of course, as a client, you're going to get what you want. And so I wrote and got the legislation passed so that any development in Palmetto Bay over 4 homes in any single development is required to have a second traffic study conducted by the city that the developer must pay for. So we're not going to get these ridiculous fabricated results. The logic for that particular property was that in the traffic study report was that because Old Cutler Road was an F on a scale of A to F, it couldn't possibly get any worse.
F
therefore,
is like
fail. It couldn't get any worse a grade than an F. Therefore, it passed the traffic study requirements, and it was okay with the traffic study to do the development.
I haven't been down south recently. It is extremely difficult to navigate.
Yeah. So these are the kind of things that go on, the games that are played, the control that the developers have and lobbyists for other interests, special interests, have over the elected officials. I believe, we're not going to have all of our politicians be able to self-fund their campaign, but I always have in the 2 terms as vice mayor, and I have self-funded this campaign as well. Less than 1% is by small contributions from our residents.
So again, so people can understand, there are things that are called PACs, political action committees,
right,
where people can donate to a PAC, and then the PAC has total discretion, right, about what to do with the money. So a lot of times when we see these attack ads, the candidate said, "Hey, it wasn't me; it was that PAC over there."
Right.
That's all pre-established, even though it may not be stated, right? It's all pre-established. So when you're elected to the county commission, what, if anything, we're going to be able to do about all that traffic, which is, we hear about all the challenges down south, and to get worse, I suspect.
Yes.
So what can a county commissioner do?
That's a really good question, Michael, because every politician that runs for office will say, yes, I'm going to do something to improve traffic, and virtually nobody does. And there are multiple problems here, but going back to my second term in office in Palmetto Bay, we got a coalition together of all of the South Dade elected officials from our U.S. congressional delegation, including Mario Diaz-Balart and Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. Mario was chairman of the Transportation Committee for Congress at the time. Ileana was chairman of the Appropriations Committee for Congress at the time. It was the perfect alignment of the stars, probably the only time in our history where we could have gotten funding for what was needed, the silver bullet for transportation infrastructure, which we all believed heavy rail, which was probably double-digit billions, was the right solution. Light rail was an alternative, not great, but viable. So all of us got together. The minority leader of the House was Keone McGee. I worked together with him and all other elected officials in South Dade. We're all on the same page to at least fund light rail extension from Dadeland Mall all the way to Florida City. And then Carlos Jimenez was county mayor at the time. And there were some influences from Senator Brandes and others that convinced Carlos that that was not a good solution. Don't spend money on a light rail because autonomous vehicles were going to be the solution to solve all traffic problems everywhere in the United States. So they cut the money back, and we ended up with this bus rapid transit. The correct solution, given that we're never going to get the $20 billion for heavy rail, the only viable solution is for us to work together in the county commission, and instead of pumping all of our money into downtown Miami and the north side of Miami, the South Dade commissioners have never worked together effectively. They've never gotten along together. And this will be a change where we can generate, invest in South Dade, get the 50,000 jobs we need in very South Dade to create a reverse commute. That is the only solution that's viable, that's on the table.
And you think you can help with that coalition?
It's going to require exactly what you just said, a coalition, and yes.
And you brought up about the Fisher Island Fuel Depot. At the end of the day, what happens, there's some huge fuel tanks out there that help all the cruise lines get their fuel, and maybe some county entities also. That land was owned by Belcher Oil for a long time, and it was recently came up for sale the last couple of years.
Yes.
And the county was in negotiations, or excuse me, there was the conversations that were going. Everybody knew about the conversations.
Yes.
Including every one of the county commissioners.
Yes.
And if they didn't know,
shame on them.
Yes.
Right.
And so the county missed it. A group of investors paid $180 million, including two huge investors down here. And the developer says, hey, I want to put up these, I don't know, $20 million, whatever.
Condos.
Big condos over there. Yep. And the county's commission, the government let, I think, 3 or 4 executives go because they didn't get it.
Right.
And so now the county's talking about eminent domain.
Yes.
Right? The guy just bought it.
Yes.
Right? Everybody knew it was for sale.
Yes.
What happened?
Yeah.
The county could not prevail in that.
So first of all, I completely disagree with the blame game that was played here. Jimmy Morales, who was running the county, the head of the ports and the deputy, those people were responsible for operational responsibility for the port. The strategic level of the port, that's beyond a one-year operational budget issue, is, in my opinion, partially responsibility of the mayor, but typically, like in a corporate environment, board of directors of a company gets involved with strategic issues. That is the county commission. And guess what? At the time that issue was being raised to the county, they had a committee called the Port Committee. And guess who was chairperson of that Port Committee? It was our commissioner from District 8, Danielle Cohen-Higgins, who, in my opinion, completely failed to do her job to address the strategic issue of potentially losing that refueling station on Fisher Island.
So everybody knew this was going on. It was publicly for sale. Everybody knew that.
Right.
And the county commission chose not to be successful in it.
Well, Michael, worse than that is they had to been able to think through this and see that when the developer bought it, they were obviously buying it with the intention of enhancing it to the maximum zoning allowed for the area. They would build it out and make a huge profit on it. So it shouldn't have been a surprise that that same developer that led the acquisition for $180 million was willing to offer it back to the county for $400 million. So, and then the county said, no, we're going after you for eminent domain. Now, that developer, who's about to make at least $220 million, in my opinion, was also a major contributor. I saw one entry alone for $20,000 campaign contribution to our commissioner. That is fundamentally the problem with developer and special interest control of our elected officials. But the eminent domain case, and I asked some experts on the matter, and they said, look, it doesn't matter that it was, it's not a 30-year-old issue that your typical eminent domain is applied to. So the judge is not going to throw it out based on the fact that they should have known last year or the year before and bought it. That's not the issue. The issue is the courts will rule in favor of the county because it is a necessary public use. But the court will also allow evidence to prove what the real market value is. And I believe even the $400 million number that they asked for may be proven that it's worth far in excess of that, in which case the county will have to step up and pay whatever amount the courts rule. That's going to be a huge burden on the taxpayer. The order of magnitude of this money is beyond a lot of people's comprehension on the commission, apparently, because this could be $250 to $500 million of taxpayer money.
But how much was that waste energy plant? $1.3 billion. So let me see if I got this stuff right. Right? Because that's what's about to happen to all of us. It's not a question that it's going to cost all of us a lot of money.
Yeah.
And this administration, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the people that were terminated, whether that was appropriate or not. But whatever the team there, the 13 commissioners and the employees, they couldn't make it happen. But they're going to make it happen at a great cost to the county.
Yeah. Michael, I think at the macro level, the one thing, our residents of Dade County may not know the details of any of these specific issues we're covering. But one thing they're smart. These people are not ignorant about what's going on overall in the economy. And what is going on in the Dade County economy in the last 6 years, the cost of housing, the value of real estate has gone up more per year on average for the last 6 years than any place else in the United States. With all that additional revenue that the county brings in from additional property taxes, how is it possible that the county is spending more and more money in excess of all the revenues that they're collecting every year? They're getting deeper into the hole every year. How is that possible if anybody is watching the store. If anybody has any fiscal responsibility, they could not possibly vote for these budgets that have been passed in the last 4 years.
So there's a budget that's being discussed now.
Yes.
Last year, last year's budget, there was a claim it was a $420 million deficit. No, it wasn't.
Right.
Because the budget wasn't passed then.
Right.
All right. But that was what was put out for whatever reason. So the budget has to be finalized, I think, by October 1st.
Right.
This is already July. So they're in the midst of it right now. I can't wait to take a look and to see what they're going to do to rescue us down here. Because and when you talk about the price of housing, people in here, it's long gone about what's going to be done.
Right.
But to your point, if there's a house that is I don't know, 300, 500 feet from here. They just built it. It's $3 million for this small house. Whether that property was appraised at before was about $400,000. All right. So the county gets all that money. All right. And so what I'm hearing from you is, where is it all going?
Yes.
Right? It doesn't cost any more for that policeman to go to that house, whether it's $300,000 or $3 million.
And I can tell you where part of it's going, Michael.
I'm here.
There are lots of areas, excuse me, of expansion of existing agencies where the size of their agency budgets have just blown up because the agency heads ask for more money. That's a problem. And there's been a lot of money that has come in from the COVID-related federal grant programs to the local governments. And instead of using that and matching it with capital improvements, they instead use it for operational expenses, which means that in the next year, you will recur the same operating expenses, even though it was a one-time payment. Yep. So that's a huge problem. And then little things like, I call it the commissioner slush funds, which the commissioners in the last 4 to 6 years have voted themselves they don't call it slush fund, obviously. It's discretionary spending of $1.5 million per year per commissioner. That's about $20 million for all 13 commissioners combined, where, in my opinion, that should be classified as campaign funds given to the commissioners. Why? Because it is used for sponsoring special events. Everybody is so happy to see the fireworks event sponsored by Commissioner so-and-so. Oh, that's great. Well, it wasn't sponsored by Commissioner so-and-so. It was sponsored by us, the taxpayers, without our permission, by the way, at each individual commissioner's sole discretion. That's disgusting as far as I'm concerned. That is the worst abuse. It's not only spending money that the taxpayers would never agree upon for those events, but furthermore, it's specifically for the purpose of getting recognition, notoriety, social media footprint, expansion, and votes in whatever their upcoming elections are. And that should be criminal as far as I'm concerned.
And we're winding down here. So the last day of election is the 18th of August.
Yes.
Absentee ballots are going out next week.
Yes.
And then there's the early voting. So that's all going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
And people need to reach you. They go online. They can look you up, John DuBois for
votejohndubois.com is the website. Mailers are going out today that actually have my phone number on it. I've always published my phone number in the 8 years I was vice mayor. Okay. And my doors are always open. I listen very well.
John DuBois, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michael.
And let's look right in this camera right up here. Folks, again, thank you for joining us. And my brother Grant and I subscribe to the Disney rule, which is when you hug someone, don't stop until they do. Thanks very much. Bye, folks.